For 18 days, Israel has been under attack. For 18 days, the Iron Dome has held. For 18 days, the world watched and waited for the moment the system would finally crack. Tonight, March 19th, that moment arrived. Iran didn't just launch another wave of missiles. They launched revenge. And the sky over Israel, for the first time in this entire war, completely filled with fire. From horizon to horizon, missile after missile after missile. So many that the interceptors couldn't keep up. So many that the radar screens turned white with contacts. So many that the sirens couldn't warn people fast enough. Ali Larijani was the second most powerful man in Iran. When Israeli airstrikes killed him 48 hours ago, the entire Islamic Republic went silent for exactly 1 day. No statements, no threats, no press conferences, just silence. And in the world of Iranian military strategy, silence means one thing. They're planning something catastrophic. Tonight, they delivered on that promise. The 64th wave of Operation True Promise 4 wasn't just another barrage. It was the single most intense missile attack in 18 days of continuous warfare. 92 missiles in 90 minutes, more than 1 missile per minute raining down on Israeli cities. And when it was over, 2 Israeli civilians were dead, dozens were injured, and the myth that Israel's air defense shield is impenetrable was shattered forever. Welcome to War Clock. To understand why tonight happened, you need to understand who Ali Larijani was, and why his death triggered something the IRGC has never done before. Ali Larijani wasn't just another Iranian official. He wasn't a figurehead. He wasn't a politician giving speeches. He was the secretary of Iran's Supreme National Security Council, the body that controls Iran's nuclear program, its military strategy, its intelligence operations, and its network of proxy forces stretching from Tehran to Beirut to Sana'a to Baghdad. Every decision about when to strike, where to strike, and how hard to strike went through Larijani. When Israeli airstrikes killed Ayatollah Ali Khamenei on the first day of this war, the entire Iranian power structure should have collapsed. It didn't. And the reason it didn't collapse was Ali Larijani. He stepped into the vacuum immediately. He became the de facto leader of the Islamic Republic. He was the man the IRGC generals answered to. He was the man coordinating with Hezbollah, with the Houthis, with Iraqi militias. He was the strategic brain behind 63 waves of missile attacks on Israel. He was the man Israel feared more than anyone else alive. 2 days ago, Israeli intelligence found him in a secure facility buried in northern Tehran, surrounded by Russian-supplied S-300 air defense batteries, protected by the IRGC's most elite Quds Force units. Larijani was conducting a war council with his senior commanders, planning the next phase, coordinating the next escalation, directing the next wave. An Israeli F-35I Adir, flying silent, invisible to Iranian radar, untouchable by Iranian air defenses, penetrated Tehran's airspace and dropped 2 5,000-pound bunker-buster bombs directly through the roof of that facility. The explosions were felt across the entire northern district of Tehran. Larijani was killed instantly. Gholamreza Soleimani, the head of Iran's Basij paramilitary force responsible for internal security and mobilization of millions of volunteers, was killed alongside him. At least 6 other senior IRGC commanders died in the same strike. Israel didn't just kill a leader. They decapitated the command structure of the entire Iranian war effort in a single surgical strike. Today, Iran buried its dead. Hundreds of thousands of people filled the streets of Tehran in funeral processions that stretched for miles. Coffins draped in Iranian flags carried through crowds chanting 3 words over and over: revenge for Larijani. Not grief, not mourning. Revenge. The IRGC's surviving leadership made a public vow, broadcast on state television, repeated on every Iranian media outlet, that the response would be decisive, devastating, and unforgettable. Tonight, they made good on every word. At exactly 1:47 a.m. Israel time, the first warning came, not from Israeli radar stations on Mount Hermon or in the Negev. from American intelligence satellites detecting infrared heat signatures from at least 6 separate launch facilities across western Iran. Multiple sites launching simultaneously. That's not a standard attack pattern. That's a saturation strike designed to overwhelm every defensive system at once. What happened next was unlike anything seen in 18 days of continuous warfare. Iran didn't launch a single coordinated wave like they had in previous attacks. They didn't stagger their launches to test Israeli defenses. They launched everything. Every available missile system, every warhead, every launcher, all at once. According to the IRGC's official statement released at 4 a.m. local time, here's what they fired. And these numbers are staggering. 24 Khorramshahr 4 ballistic missiles. These are Iran's most advanced long-range missiles, 2,000-kilometer range, capable of carrying multiple independently targeted warheads, meaning each missile can split into several warheads, each heading for a different target. Specifically designed to overwhelm layered air defense systems by multiplying the number of incoming objects the defenders have to track and intercept. 18 Qadr liquid-fueled ballistic missiles, 1,800-kilometer range. These are Iran's workhorse strategic missiles, accurate, reliable, and carrying warheads heavy enough to destroy hardened military installations. 22 Imad precision-guided ballistic missiles. Iran's first truly accurate ballistic missile. These don't just land in the general area of a target. They hit specific coordinates with a circular error probable of less than 50 meters. That's accurate enough to hit individual buildings. 16 K-Bar Shaykan medium-range ballistic missiles. The Castle Destroyers. Fast, maneuverable during their terminal phase, designed to evade Patriot and Arrow interceptors through last-second course corrections that make them incredibly difficult to shoot down. 12 Hajj Qassem missiles. Named after Qasem Soleimani, the IRGC commander assassinated by the United States in January 2020. These carry the heaviest warheads in Iran's conventional arsenal. When they hit, they leave craters. 92 missiles. 90 minutes. More than one missile every 60 seconds impacting Israeli territory or being intercepted over Israeli cities. To put that in perspective, Iran's massive April 2024 attack on Israel, the one that made global headlines, the one that involved 300 drones and missiles, took 5 hours to play out. Tonight's attack compressed more destructive power into 90 minutes. The intensity was off the charts. Nothing like this has been seen since the Iraqi Scud attacks on Israel during the 1991 Gulf War. And tonight's missiles are orders of magnitude more accurate and more destructive than anything Saddam Hussein ever possessed. Israel's multi-layered air defense network is the most sophisticated missile defense system ever built by any nation in human history. Arrow 3 for exo-atmospheric interception, killing ballistic missiles in space before they re-enter the atmosphere. Arrow 2 for upper atmosphere interception, David's Sling for medium-range threats, Iron Dome for short-range rockets and cruise missiles, Patriot batteries for aircraft and tactical ballistic missiles, multiple layers, multiple systems, multiple chances to kill every incoming threat. But no system on Earth is designed to handle 92 ballistic missiles in 90 minutes. Here's why the math breaks the system. Each Arrow battery carries a limited number of interceptors, typically 4 to 8 ready to fire at any moment. Reloading takes time. Each David's Sling launcher carries 12 interceptors. Each Iron Dome battery carries 20 Tamir interceptors. When you have 92 incoming missiles, many carrying multiple warheads or decoys, the number of objects the system needs to track and engage explodes into the hundreds. The radar systems saturate. They can track the objects, but they can't assign interceptors fast enough. The battle management computers, running algorithms designed from years of simulations, have to make impossible choices in milliseconds. Which missiles are heading for population centers? Which are heading for military bases? Which are decoys designed to waste interceptors? Which are real warheads? And when the computers make those calculations, some missiles, by mathematical certainty, get through. Not because the technology failed, because the numbers failed. There simply weren't enough interceptors to stop everything. The results were devastating. At least 12 missile impacts were confirmed in the Tel Aviv metropolitan area alone. In Ramat Gan, a densely populated neighborhood immediately east of central Tel Aviv, 2 Israeli civilians were killed, a couple in their 70s. They were in their apartment when a cluster submunition from one of the missiles penetrated their building. Israel requires every residence to have a reinforced safe room called a mamad. This couple had a safe room. They couldn't reach it in time. The air raid sirens gave them 6 seconds of warning. 6 seconds from the moment the siren sounded to the moment the submunition came through their ceiling. You cannot run to a safe room in 6 seconds. You cannot even process what's happening in 6 seconds. You can close your eyes. That's all. Why only 6 seconds? Because the missiles were arriving at extreme terminal velocities, Mach 8, Mach 10, some even faster. Because the radar systems were processing so many simultaneous contacts that the warning calculation was delayed by precious seconds. Because when you fire 92 missiles in 90 minutes, the system doesn't just struggle, it drowns in data. Impacts were also confirmed near Tel Aviv's central train station, disrupting transportation for millions of commuters. Haifa in northern Israel took at least 8 missile strikes targeting military facilities near the port. Beersheba in southern Israel was hit by multiple missiles aimed at military installations in the Negev desert. And the IRGC claims, though this is unconfirmed by Israeli sources, that missiles struck targets in the Jerusalem corridor as well. The IRGC's official statement claims over 230 Israelis have been killed or injured across all 64 waves of Operation True Promise 4. Those numbers cannot be independently verified and are almost certainly exaggerated. But even Israel's own confirmed numbers, 2 dead tonight, dozens injured, significant infrastructure damage, tell a story of a defense system that was pushed beyond its design limits. The question the entire world is asking tonight: what happens next? Israel has already demonstrated its willingness to strike Iranian leadership. Khamenei, Larijani, Soleimani, 6 senior commanders. The decapitation campaign has been relentless. But here's the problem. Killing leaders doesn't stop missiles. The launchers still exist. The missile stockpiles still exist. The crews trained to fire them still exist. And every leader Israel kills becomes a martyr whose death justifies the next wave of attacks. Iran has dispersed its remaining missile forces into civilian areas. Launchers are hidden in residential neighborhoods, in commercial districts, in mosque courtyards. Any Israeli strike against these positions will inevitably kill Iranian civilians. And every dead Iranian civilian gives the IRGC propaganda material for another decade of recruitment. The IRGC's statement tonight specifically mentioned future targets beyond Israel. They named American outposts in Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, and the UAE. If the 65th wave targets the 50,000 American service members stationed across the Persian Gulf, this war doesn't just escalate. It transforms into something the world hasn't seen since 1991. And then there's the interceptor math. Every Arrow missile Israel fires costs between $2 and $3 million. Every Iron Dome Tamir interceptor costs $50,000. After 64 waves, thousands of interceptions, Israel's missile defense stockpiles are being depleted faster than they can be manufactured. The United States is airlifting replacement interceptors, but production capacity has limits. At current consumption rates, the interceptor supply could be exhausted within weeks. What happens when Israel has no interceptors left? The same thing that happens when any shield breaks. Everything gets through. Ali Larijani is dead. His body is in the ground. His funeral drew hundreds of thousands. But tonight proved something that should terrify every strategic planner in Jerusalem, Washington, and every allied capital. You can kill the man. You cannot kill the rage. 92 missiles in 90 minutes. The sky over Israel filled with fire from horizon to horizon. 2 civilians dead in their own apartment because 6 seconds wasn't enough time to reach safety. An air defense system, the best ever built, pushed past its breaking point. Iran will call tonight a victory. Israel will point to interception rates and call it a successful defense. But percentages don't matter to the family in Ramat Gan. Statistics don't matter to the dozens lying in hospital beds tonight. The only number that matters is the number of missiles that got through. And that number is growing with every wave. The 65th wave is coming. Not if. When. The only question is whether it targets Israel again or whether 50,000 Americans across the Gulf wake up to sirens tomorrow. This is War Clock. Stay awake. Stay alive.